This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily, a game day edition before the final game of the regular season. Tonight, it's Fan Appreciation Day at Canada Life Centre. If you're going to the game, make sure to grab your free hot dog and collector cup with free pop for tonight's game. There'll be tons of giveaways. Should be a real fun night to sort of, celebrate an incredible regular season, a President's Trophy win, and then the score sets back to 0 for 16 teams competing for the Stanley Cup. And we know after last night, the Winnipeg Jets opponent will be the St. Louis Blues in the 1-versus-8 matchup in the Western Conference. And in the Central Division, Jets-Blues winner will face the winner of the Avalanche and the Dallas Stars in the first round of the playoffs. Now, I would have expected that about 5 minutes after the dust had settled on last night's action, we would have had a schedule for the series. And yet we don't. Now, there's a few factors, I think, going into this. Obviously, Canadian television and Rogers has huge sway when it comes to the dates and the times of the games being played. With the Thursday night action in the NHL, including the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Ottawa Senators, I think it's likely that series begins on Sunday as opposed to Saturday. The Los Angeles Kings are playing the final game of the season on Thursday night. That likely takes the Oilers and Kings out of the equation for Saturday. So we had thought that there'd be a possibility that the Jets would be playing Saturday, potentially in the primetime slot with the Canadian team there and the unavailability of the other teams. Well, the Montreal Canadiens have still not clinched their playoff spot. We go into tonight's action knowing 7 of the series, but Washington does not know whether they're going to be hosting Montreal or Columbus. I would imagine that if the Habs win tonight, that game probably goes to Saturday. I don't know what that means for the Winnipeg Jets, whether it would be a different time, a late game, an afternoon game on Saturday, potentially an afternoon game on Sunday, knowing that in all likelihood it's going to be primetime Leafs Sens, and the West Coast game, probably Oilers Kings. All that to say, it's going to be Jets Blues. It's a best of 7. It's starting on the weekend, probably, and we'll find out very soon, hopefully later on tonight, as to when we'll be packing Canada Life Centre and the streets of downtown in white, getting ready to kick off the Stanley Cup playoffs. But some huge news today in Jetland that is not related to the playoffs. An extension for Alex Iafallo, a 3-year deal at $3.67 million AAV. Listen, we've talked a lot about Iafallo all season long. I thought he was maybe one of the more unheralded, underappreciated guys. And then, of course, Gabe Vilardi went down, and we know what he's done playing with Connor and Scheifele during the time that Gabe has been away. So we'll hear from Alex Iafallo once signing the deal now, committing to the city of Winnipeg. And as I read in a few places today on social media, tough day for the no one wants to play in Winnipeg crew because you trade for an American player coming from Los Angeles who's fit in here, who's loved it, and is now committing for 3 more years as a Winnipeg Jet. So great day for Iafallo, great day for the organization. And one more game to go tonight as the Jets host the Anaheim Ducks, who nearly complicated things more by beating the Minnesota Wild, but it was Joel Eriksson Ek who scored with 20 seconds left to assure the Wild of a spot in the playoffs, and they are taking on the Vegas Golden Knights. We're going to break it all down and look ahead to the playoffs with Greg Wyshynski of ESPN in a few minutes. Brandon Rewucki is going to join us. And then a little later on, stepping away from the hockey craziness, Winnipeg is a part of the World Table Tennis Day next week. So we're going to have a friend coming over from the Manitoba Table Tennis Association to let us know what is exactly happening in the city next Wednesday and a little bit more on that. We're going to hear from Luke Schenn, who had some great stuff earlier today. Coach Scott Arniel as well, in addition to Alex Iafallo. Listen, just before we bring in Michael Remis, a huge thanks to the sponsors that make WST happen each and every day. Special welcome aboard to a great supporter and WST listener, Schenn, and his company, Let's Do It Travel. You can check them out on Instagram at Let's Do It Travel WPG. Tell you more about some cool stuff that maybe you want to take advantage of for the playoffs a little bit later on. Also want to thank Princess Auto, Coolbet, Aikens Lake, F Apparel, Manitoba Battery, Rollies Transfer, Canadian Club, St. Vital Dental Center, the Prairie Toyota Dealers, Boston Pizza, Royal Sports, Little Brown Jug, Breezy Bend. We'll do a Why Not question of the day for Not AutoCorp at Waverly and McGillivray. And as always, fan feedback brought to you by fansfirst.ca. Let's get her going. Welcome to everybody in chat. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't already, and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Shout out to you podcast listeners as well. And Remo, we have some information, but it is still incomplete as to when, but it is time to bring on the St. Louis Blues.
Whoa, Huss. One day at a time. We still got a Jets-Ducks game tonight, right? I mean, come on. Whoa, don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but yeah, Jets-Blues series, rematch of their first-round match series in 2019. It only took like 12 hours for someone to post the Game 5 Blues comeback, which their fans will say sprung their run to all the way to the Stanley Cup, but the Winnipeg Jets revenge tour, if it does in fact go, St. Louis, Colorado, Vegas, possibly Florida. I mean, the table is set here already for St. Louis, and I think it was going to be a tough matchup no matter who. Minnesota seems to come on with players back from injuries. Calgary, if they would have made it, they're on a nice run here. But St. Louis, I like it. They've played a lot of games together. The Jets did beat them last week handily. So I'm looking forward to the matchup and getting it all going. But first, we do have the final game of the regular season, Fan Appreciation Night tonight at Canada Life Center. Should be a great celebration.
Yeah, listen, and I think it'll be a real festive atmosphere tonight. It's always a fun game, the final game of the regular season, if the game does not have any impact on the standings, and credit to the Winnipeg Jets. They wrapped up the whole damn league a couple games ago. So now it's time to go out, prepare for the playoffs, get the reps in. And as we talked about yesterday after the unfortunate news of Nikolai Ehlers being out week to week, just get through this game healthy and ready to go for the weekend against the St. Louis Blues. The one thing, and we may as well get to this right now and hear a little bit from the man of the hour, Alex Iafallo. And man, we've been talking a lot about him and just how great he's played and really fit in since he became a Winnipeg Jet, but especially over the last month or so while Gabriel Vilardi's been away. I had said numerous times on this show, I really hope that they found a way to keep Alex Iafallo. And I got to tell you, for a guy that was making $4 million, for him to sign 3 years at 3.67, I think, it's a deal that makes a lot of sense for the team. I think it's a fair deal. And it definitely shows his commitment to this team, this organization, and this city. And I think all smiles today for both Cheveldayoff and his staff getting AI signed. And, of course, Alex, who's got a new 3-year deal to stick around here in the Peg.
Yeah, congratulations to Alex Iafallo on his new contract. And that was one of the questions surrounding the Winnipeg Jets heading into the playoffs and the offseason. They did have, last year they basically had no UFA forwards. The forward group unchanged. This year they have a couple big ones. Iafallo, Ehlers, now Brandon Tanev, Mason Appleton, Neil Pionk. as well are the big ones. And Alex Iafallo's played a huge role this year. He's played on every line. He's played on the top line. He's played power play. He's played penalty kill. And I got to be honest, when they acquired a guy who had played in LA who seemed to be very into surfing, you're wondering, hey, how is this guy going to embrace Winnipeg? And it seems like he's just gone full winter guy. He's going ice fishing. He's going into the woods. And I remember, he found out about the trade. He was like camping in Montana. If you follow him on Instagram during the summer, he's posting pictures from the middle of nowhere. So he's an outdoors guy. There's plenty of that here in Manitoba. But more, importantly as well, on ice, the team's winning. There's in first place. He has a very big role on the team. And he seems to love the guys and love the locker room and the culture that's been created. So I agree with you, as this score an L for the nobody wants to play in Winnipeg crowd. And you look at all the trades that Kevin Cheveldayoff has done, maybe not all of them, but lots of them in the last couple of years, because Monahan and Toffoli, who were acquired at the deadline, they did not re-sign. But Dylan DeMello has signed twice. Who was the other one? Could have gone to free agency. Nemestikov. Nemestikov, yeah. Nino Niederreiter as well. So in the last couple of years, he's traded for players who've said, yeah, I want to be a Winnipeg Jet. And can't argue with the results here. So great contract. And interesting to note, the cap is going up, and he signed for less AAV than he's currently making. So, nice work done here on both sides.
Listen, it's a really fair deal. I think it's one that the team's going to be really happy with. And, I'm just happy that Alex decided to forego unrestricted free agency and say, yeah, I'm fired up for the playoffs and I'm fired up to stay here for another 3 years. You mentioned about AI and the stories of him kind of enjoying the outdoors and camping and all that. I don't think I'm speaking out of turn when I tell this a little story. Of course, Royal Sports has been great partners of ours and good friends for many years. And they've got this incredible snowboard section. And AI has been known to just get down to Royal and just kick it in the snowboard section for a while, talking to the guys about different equipment and stuff like that. I think he likes to roll out the Spring Hill sometimes on his own, on his free time. So he is a guy that definitely likes to make the most of his time away. I don't think he's a guy that sits around the house a lot, but whether he's fishing with the fellas, driving to rural outposts, or putting a snowboard on and checking out the modest hills here in Manitoba, he certainly has fit in great, and it's great news for the team and the player that Alex Iafallo is a Winnipeg Jet. Reem, did you watch? I guess you had hockey last night, so you probably were on the ice when this happened. Dude, I posted up last night to watch the Ducks and Wild and the Blues in Utah, and then the Calgary game, knowing that there was a very good chance we'd find out who the Jets were playing. Utah, after playing last night in Nashville, didn't show up for the game against St. Louis, and they got absolutely steamrolled. So it was basically the tense moment was the Wild and the Ducks. And Anaheim scored with about 8 minutes left to break a 1-1 tie. And the shots of the fans at the XL Energy Center were, it reminded me of the Masters after Rory put it in the drink on 13. You had people with their heads in their hands freaking out. And then Joel Eriksson scores with 20 seconds left. And I don't know if anyone's seen the goal. An absolutely brilliant pass from Matt Boldy at a time where they absolutely needed it. And they only needed 1 point to both guarantee their spot in the playoffs and clinch the 7th place in the first wild card. So the Minnesota Wild get the Vegas Golden Knights. And, of course, that's bad news for the Calgary Flames, who, despite coming back against Vegas last night and winning in a shootout, they will not be participating in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So the West is entirely set. Winnipeg, St. Louis, Dallas, Colorado, Edmonton, LA, Chapter 4, and the Vegas Golden Knights and the Minnesota Wild. Again, we don't know when these games are being played yet. Hopefully we will soon. But, man, we've got some great matchups in the first round, especially in the Central Division and the Atlantic Division, now that we know it is Toronto and Ottawa guaranteed, and the Battle of Florida with Tampa and the Panthers going back at it again.
Yeah, Minnesota fans probably nervous about playing the Jets. You look at the record against Winnipeg this year, 0 wins, 2 losses in regulation, 1 in overtime. They scored 2 goals in 3 games. And yeah, I was playing hockey. I got off the ice and was reading some text message about, oh, Minnesota's losing here. Wait a second. They just tied it. And then I got the notification that it is Jets Blues, bringing back flashbacks to 2019 when the two teams met. And I think every playoff matchup here, like if you're in a playoff pool or doing a bracket challenge, it's tough. All the matchups very tight. Could go either way, especially the middle ones like Colorado, Dallas. The battle of Florida as well. Tampa, Florida, I think should be a great series. Toronto, Ottawa from an entertainment standpoint, and Kings, Oilers. Is this the year finally that the LA Kings can get over the hump? We've seen this series, 3 times before. You're almost getting sick of it, but Edmonton's so banged up, and LA seems to have found their goalie in Darcy Kemper. I think that's going to be a great series. I love staying up late and watching the late series, and that's a classic West Coast one for me. So I think all the matchups are good, and it's going to be tough when we put our brackets together.
For those wondering, we will do Coolbet odds later on. We've got series prices on all of them, but the Jets are a big favorite in this series. Minus 238 to advance to the second round. St. Louis plus 190. And I'll be honest, I'm not sure whether there's just so much Jets action from cool bettors here in Winnipeg and Manitoba. But the only bigger favorites of the first round are Vegas at minus 250 over the Minnesota Wild and the Carolina Hurricanes at minus 270 over the New Jersey Devils. And again, we'll dive into some of the series lines and props later on, but in case you were wondering what the line was on Winnipeg St. Louis, Jets are a big favorite at minus 238. We are going to listen to and hear from Alex Iafallo in just a minute, who signed his new deal. But just before we do that, let me give a shout out to our friends at Rolly's Transfer. Family owned and operated for over 60 years and the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba. Alex Iafallo will not need the services of Rolly's because he's not going anywhere. But if you are moving, head on over to their website at rollys.com. Click on Request an Estimate. Put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies. And let them know where you're moving, when you're planning on moving, and what needs to go. And the friendly staff at Rolly's will turn it around real quick with a great quote to get you locked in with the white glove service that Rolly's is famous for on your next move. Moving in 2025, get help from our great sponsors at Rolly's. Find out more, request an estimate today over at rollys.com. Well, the playoffs are coming up. We know how hard that is. There might be a few teeth on the ice at some point over the course of the next few months. If you've got issues, whether a tooth out, just need a cleaning, or some other great dental work, pop down and see our great friends, Dr. Terry and his team at St. Vital Dental Center at 167 St. Anne's. A beautiful new facility with the state-of-the-art technology and free parking, conveniently located right in the back of the building. They've been serving generations of Winnipeggers and Manitobans and can do the same for you and your family. Book an appointment today or find out more on everything the St. Vital Dental can do for you online at stvitaldental.ca. I guess we can officially raise a Canadian club to the Winnipeg Jets as the number 1 team in the league. Of course, the President's Trophy has been determined. Tonight, we'll give them another cheers of the finest Canadian whiskey around Canadian club for a Jennings Trophy, as the Jets are the only team not to allow 200 goals in the season. They're at 190 tonight. Of course, when you're making a drink or looking for something to cheers and you're looking Canadian, think of the iconic Canadian Club since 1848, the original Canadian whiskey. Pick it up at your local Manitoba liquor marts. CC, Canadian Club 100% rye, Canadian Club Classic, all waiting for you at your local Manitoba liquor marts. And counting down the days before a CC and Gingers at Princess Auto Stadium, as of course Canadian Club is the official spirit of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. All right, let's hear from Alex Iafallo. He signed the new deal today. That was the talk of the morning skate before game number 82. We'll go with 9 here, Remo. This is Alex Iafallo on re-signing here in Winnipeg.
Yeah, pumped. I'm excited. Obviously wanted to stay here, and such a great organization. City fans, and just the team alone. It's been a fun year, and I just wanted to stay, and I'm pumped to get it done before playoffs for sure.
Yeah, and was it from your perspective? Were you directly involved? Was it a long, drawn-out conversation, or how would you characterize the negotiation?
Yeah, it's just let them do the work. Obviously, we had game after game, so I wasn't focused on that. I was just focused on the game. So just take the calls and got it done.
All right, so AI with a new deal. And, he mentioned the team, the organization, the city, the fans. I think it is important because, listen, in today's day and age, people that are running the show, general managers, head coaches, ownership, often take barbs and shots, fairly or unfairly. It's important to recognize what this team and this management group has done so that players like Alex Iafallo are excited to stay in Winnipeg. Part of it is building a very competitive team. If this team sucked, I'm not sure that we're getting this announcement today. In fact, I think it probably would be the difference. You'll see where he was going. But you constantly hear how well these players are treated, how well their families are treated. I think the Luke Schenn situation with his family has been a perfect example of that. So I think it's important to note there's a lot of people that we don't really think of when we think about deals like this that are playing a part in it, and everyone deserves credit on that. Here's a little bit more on Iafallo, why he chose to stay here in Winnipeg.
Oh, it's just amazing. I love it, having so much fun on and off the ice. The team camaraderie and everything that we've done this year is, we just got to keep building and keep going into playoffs like this. So, I wanted to stay and be a part of it, for the next 3 years.
On the mechanics of the deal and the motivation for why you would accept a lower AAV than your existing contract?
Oh yeah, it's such a great team. I don't want to go anywhere else. It's, I was going to accept, what I was worth or whatever it was. It's a great contract for me, and I'm loving it. So it's going to be a great 3 years, and it's we got a big playoff run, so I'm not focused on that at all. It's just we got to win some games here.
All right, so there's Alex Iafallo on a little bit more on his new deal. Now, I mentioned earlier, it has been well known that AI is a guy that likes to get out there, likes to get off the grid, if you will. And here's Iafallo on the off-ice reasons why he's felt that Winnipeg's been such a good fit for him.
Oh, it's just a great team. We have a good time. In the locker room and off the ice, just fishing or whatever we do, hanging out together, dinners on the road, and you could text anybody, call anybody, have a team, and at any time, So I think that's what helps us succeed and win the games that we've been winning.
Sorry, Alex, when you came here, would you have been in that group of players, that perception that nobody wants to play in Winnipeg? Would you have almost maybe been in that, and then you'd seen kind of a whole different light kind of during your time here?
Yeah, for sure. You got to enjoy every second, no matter where you are. Obviously people say that about Winnipeg, and that's just their perception on, the city and whatever, your idea of it is. But I think everybody in the locker room would say different. You're having a good time, and, winning helps too. But at the same time, it's what's in the locker room, and you have fun.
And you know what stands out to me about that one, Reem? We've heard so much, and listen, especially we're going to go into this series against the Blues, and we all remember what was happening with the Winnipeg Jets in 2019, where it seemed like they were combusting from within. I hear those comments from Alex Iafallo, and I almost just want to publicly thank Rick Bowness again for instilling the culture change, which, listen, think of 3 years ago. This is a 180 to hear from a player like this that just wants to be here and be a part of this team that is such a team and a cohesive unit. It's, listen, it's great for the city. But it also speaks to the job that Bones and now Arniel and Adam Lowry, Josh Morrissey, Mark Scheifele have done to take an American guy from LA that comes here and decides, you know what, this is awesome. I don't want to leave, and I'm re-upping for another 3 years.
Yeah, and again, that seems like a common theme with the players that Kevin Cheveldayoff acquires in trades. I don't know if he's acquiring players who he thinks, hey, you know, we have a shot at re-signing this guy. But as I said before, you go down the list and you look at a player like Dylan DeMello or Vlad Nemestikov, who just re-signed. Nino Niederreiter re-signed last year. And even Brandon Tanev had good things to say about coming back. So, you know, as you said, treated very well the players. And once they get here, seem to not want to leave. How many times did Eric Comrie come back?
Yeah, how many times did Comrie come back too?
Lauren Brossoit as well came back. So, yeah, great to see Alex Iafallo, you know, signed for 3 years. That's one question this offseason has that we will not have to discuss, as that one is locked up. And you have to wonder as well, what does it mean for some of the other players who are free agents? But for Alex Iafallo, he seems to be happy in the situation here. You're on the top team. Doesn't really want to change it. No reason to pack up and move. Moving sucks. moving sucks us. Terrible. And again, you don't know what the situation is going to be. You don't know what's going to be out there. He's happy here. Why change it up?
Yeah, no doubt. Listen, AI on the ice has been so good for the Winnipeg Jets, especially as of late when they really needed him in the absence of Gabriel Velarde. And hey, good on everyone for getting this deal done. And now it is on to the postseason. Speaking of the postseason, 7 of the 8 series are set. Let's get ready for the playoffs on the weekend and welcome in our pal from ESPN. Wish, just a couple more short strokes on the regular season and then it's playoff time. How are you?
Hold on, he's not on. Well, give me 1 sec. Sorry.
Oh, give me 1 sec. Sorry, Remis just has to load you in there. We do it, and as I mentioned off the top, we have 7, not 8, because the Montreal Canadiens can't close the deal. They'll have the opportunity to do that tonight against the Carolina Hurricanes. Wish, welcome back to the program. What's going on? How are you?
I'm good. You know, I found it kind of funny that like you're counting Comrie and Brossoit as the folks that are proof of concept for Winnipeg as a destination. Like, what a plum gig to play behind Connor Hellebuck. I mean, you know, like if you talk about like the best job for a backup in this league, it's probably to play behind a guy that A, never takes a day off, and B, you know, there's a pretty good team in front of him. So I'm not surprised that they came back.
Well, those guys for sure. But you know what I mean? Just let me ask you, from, you know, out in the East Coast in a big market far away from Winnipeg, what did you make when you heard Alex Iafallo before the playoffs, heading into unrestricted free agency, is signing with the Winnipeg Jets? And I mean, it's not like they had to way overpay him. He's actually taking a little bit of a haircut from his current contract.
Yeah, and especially with the cap going up and everything too, it's sort of a surprise. I mean, as Michael said, you know, the mantra I always give for any situation like this is that his stuff is there, and usually when guys' stuff is in a place, they don't want to move their stuff. And I think he's found a good fit. I mean, I think he likes the system they play. I think he's, you know, I've talked to him since the trade, and he seemed to really enjoy being a Jet. So, you know, good on him, good on the organization for making it happen.
You know, just listening to his comments today, I mean, it really does speak to just the incredible culture change that this team has had basically since the day that Rick Bowness came in and took over the club and is now passed on. You know, some of the things that he said about just how tight this group is, we'd heard it said, and it seemed to be just saying it. This team actually, and I think the results speak for themselves, have come together in a way I think beyond just about anyone could have imagined. I mean, we are going into the playoffs, and that's the way all the 16 teams are going to be judged, but what are your thoughts on a President's Trophy winning season for the Winnipeg Jets in a year that a lot of people didn't even think they might not be a playoff team?
Well, my thoughts are that Connor Hellebuck should win the Hart, I think is my thought.
Great take.
I'm a Connor for Hart guy. Listen, we did the NHL Awards watch on ESPN.com recently. Draisaitl has the most support amongst the voters right now, and that's to be understandable. I do think that the injury to Draisaitl down the stretch has sort of decreased the amount of games between him and McDavid this year. Because the last time he won the Hart, Draisaitl, he won it based on having played more games than Connor, and Connor having had kind of an average season for McDavid standards. McDavid still has had an average season by his standards, but I think that there's less of a Leon's carried the load by himself thing going on than there might have been a couple weeks ago when Draisaitl was healthy. To me, like, you look at the percentage of wins that Hellebuyck is responsible for on a President's Trophy winning team, the fact that right until the end he's led in every major traditional stats category for goaltenders, even if he is only maybe top 3, top 4 in the analytics. I just think he's had a monster season. And I wrote about the Jets earlier this year when they got off to that incredible hot start. And they all said to a man, the things that we do track back to our goalie. Whether it's him being the last line of defense, him being the reason we win a game, or him giving us the confidence to play a little bit with more reckless abandon offensively. I mean, it all tracks back to having Hellebuyck back there, and I think that he's the story behind this President's Trophy winning season.
Now, once we get to the weekend and past tonight, it's time to slay some dragons from, or demons, if you will, from the last couple of years. And we've talked about it all year, and to their credit, the players have too. They know exactly, what's ahead. And, we have put together this absolutely delicious revenge tour narrative for the Winnipeg Jets. Imagine this, Wish. The St. Louis Blues, who bounced them in 2019 in round 1.
Yep.
The Avalanche, who pounded them last year in 5 games in round number 2. The Vegas Golden Knights in round 3 that prevented them from going to the Cup final in 2018. And then in the Cup final, the final boss, former head coach Paul Maurice and the defending champion Florida Panthers. I mean, you can't write it any better. That being said, it all starts with St. Louis coming up on the weekend.
That's pretty good. It's not bad. Hey, listen, I'm a big believer in, sometimes the team that you pick to win is the team that has the most compelling commemorative Blu-ray available at the end of the season. And listen, history bears that out. Think about when the Washington Capitals won their cup. They had to go through Pittsburgh to be able to win the cup. And then once they did, who did they play in the final? They played George McPhee, the guy who built that Capitals team, now with Vegas. Like, there's all these little signposts along the way about what the narrative could end up being for these teams. So I don't discount your theory about the Jets in this situation. For me, though, the big thing about the Jets and their first round opponent, like you said, first off, it's the mindset. They've said since the beginning of the season, when they had that winning streak, that nothing they do matters. And maybe that's helped free them to be able to win the President's Trophy. I don't know, but nothing they do in the regular season matters if they can't get past game 5 in a first round series. So that's the right mindset to come at this playoff with for the Jets. The other thing too is, listen, it's going to go one of two ways. Either the Blues are just on such a heater that there's no way it's going to be able to dissipate and they just roll through the first round, or we take the Blues for what they are, which is a team that is 31st in the league in expected goals against, or expected goals for, I think, actually, since March 17th, that has been on an absolute shooting percentage bender. And when they go up against a stout defensive team with the best goalie in the world, then they're not going to be able to work the same magic they've worked in the regular season to make the playoffs. I prefer to accept the latter as the truth, and I like the Jets' chances in this series a lot.
Well, listen, I'm with you as well, and I think the best example of that was last Monday, April 7th. The Blues came in as the hottest team in the NHL on a 12-game winning streak. The Jets had Dallas right on their heels and needed to win, and the Jets stuffed them in a locker. I mean, they had 15 shots in that game, and albeit it was 3-1, but it really wasn't close. And to the Jets, to their credit, they built off that, took that momentum in to their biggest game of the season. Many people said the biggest regular season game since the team came back, that game in Dallas last week, to lock down the division. I mean, the President's Trophy was nice, but this team was playing to win the Central, win the West, and not be in that 2-3 matchup against the Colorado Avalanche, and and they got it done. And really, since then, it's been a bit of a heat check for the St. Louis Blues, despite taking advantage of a tired Utah team and just running them out of the building last night.
Yeah, and again, like offensively, they're out kicking their coverage. And when you play a team like the Jets, maybe that doesn't come to fruition. Defensively, though, this has become a Jim Montgomery team, and they can grind. They defend well. Their defensive metrics match up to the results they've been getting on the ice. They've been getting good goaltending throughout this run for the last 2 months as well. So it's going to be a grind, and it's going to be contingent on the Jets not only keeping the offensive damage the Blues can do at a minimum with regard to how hot their shooters have been, but also finding ways to score themselves, and obviously that hasn't necessarily been a problem for them, and hopefully will continue to be not a problem for them.
Wish, before I ask you about the other series, the one thing that we're still waiting on is when the hell these games are going to be played. What do you know about that? My reading of the tea leaves is this has a lot to do with the Montreal Canadiens, whether the Canadiens are that team and playing Washington. Any idea as to what the scenarios are right now as it pertains to Montreal? And if the Habs lose tonight, do we have to wait another full day? Will they be setting these dates after Columbus plays tomorrow night?
I mean, it's possible. I just know Saturday and Sunday, there's a lot of hockey, including Sunday, kind of an all-day prospect for hockey, which is pretty sick when you can roll from Easter into hockey into WrestleMania Day 2.
Yes.
A pretty great day for many of us. But I honestly don't know when and where some of these games are going to be played. And again, it is kind of bizarre to only have one outlier and have that be a pivot point for a lot of this stuff, but that's where we are with it.
We'll see what happens tonight and see whether we have any clarity moving forward. There is a bunch of building availability things we were noticing. We were doing detective work last night. Next Friday and Saturday in St. Louis, Brooks and Dunn on Friday, Cat Williams on Saturday. So I think there will be, and I know the Lakers are playing on Saturday, I believe. So we might see some strange scheduling in a few series, at least for the first round. Listen, the one we've been talking about here in Winnipeg that we wanted to see all along was Dallas, Colorado, because the Jets wouldn't be involved in it. I saw this one open at Coolbet as a pick'em, and it is steadily gone more and more in favor of the Avalanche, who in fact don't have home ice in this.
No.
What's your take on Dallas, Colorado, Wish?
I picked Dallas to win the Cup before the season, and I'm probably compelled to pick them in the series because of that. But listen, if they're going into this whole thing without Miro Heiskanen, and there's been a little bit of hedging, it seems like, in Dallas about his availability now, where at first they were saying he's not going to play in the series. He's back skating now. So maybe if this thing goes long, he shows up again. But you look at their numbers defensively since he went out, and it's a horror show. I mean, they've been propped up by great goaltending, but their analytics defensively, they're like 31st in the league in expected goals against since Heiskanen went out. And that's held steady. So, the fact they're getting Sagan back will be good, but I don't think they can win this series if their best defenseman doesn't play a game in the series. Now, if he does, it's a bit of a different math, and the inherent drama of the series itself with, the Mikko Rantanen revenge tour, trying to prove the team that didn't want to give him the contract wrong, and then the Landeskog part of this thing with, if he ever steps on the ice, what's that emotional, dynamic going to feel like? There's a lot going on in this series. But if you look at the numbers, I think Dallas would have much preferred to have gotten the 1 seed than to see what's sitting across the ice from them in this series without their best defenseman.
A friend of mine, Will Peterson, who works in Denver, was at the Colorado Eagles game and on the weekend and doing a bunch of video from it. We saw McKinnon and McCarr were there, and it was a big deal. I don't know what the expectations are for Gabe Landeskog, assuming that he comes back. However, just from a perseverance story, this really is great for the game, and I'm interested to see how big of a boost it'll be for the Avalanche, who are already a handful.
Yeah, and the fact that he had kept the captaincy throughout a time in his life and in his career where it really didn't seem like he would come back. There had been just so many false starts to his comeback that it felt like it was never going to, it felt like he would end up being Logan Couture, basically, where he would just have to kind of walk away at some point. But he battled back. That perseverance, I think, resonates with his teammates, and there's a reason that they've kept him around the team and revered him. And the fact that he's going to be a part of this is just kind of mind-blowing, but also another, like I said, emotional dynamic in this series that you can't really account for.
Edmonton, LA, 4.0. I think this is a great argument that we should go back to 1-8 to avoid the same thing every year. Might we see a different result this year, considering the great defensive play of the Kings and where the Oilers are at right now?
Man, I'm a change the playoff format guy. I like 1-8, but I also am a big expand the playoffs guy beyond 16 teams, because man, we're gonna get like up to 36 teams at some point, like the next decade. And it might be time to expand the playoffs. But that being said, it's a hard argument to make in a season that's giving us the Battle of Ontario, the Battle of Florida, and Dallas and Colorado, to say the fourth edition of Kings Oilers is the reason we should change it. You know what I mean? And I say that as somebody who does want to see it changed. I'd be very interested when the punditry starts to kind of chime in, how many people pick the Kings by virtue of home ice, by virtue of Darcy Kemper being a big point of demarcation in comparison to other previous series, and just the diminished quality of the Oilers, be it the defensive inconsistency or the injuries that Connor and Leon have been dealing with. That being said, I'll give you two reasons why I'm picking the Oilers, and they're Connor and Leon. I have seen them drag worst versions of this Oilers team through at least a round in the playoffs. I don't think this Oilers team is going to be able to recapture the magic and get past what I think is a very good Vegas team in the second round. But I think there's going to be a lot of people leaping on the Kings bandwagon when in actuality it's the same scenario. It's, can their defense withstand Draisaitl and McDavid? And frankly, I think few defenses in this league can withstand Draisaitl and McDavid.
Oh, yeah, history will tell us that is a tough task, maybe the toughest in the National Hockey League. The other West Series is Minnesota at Vegas. I mean, we were all watching both of those games last night, and I mean, the stress on Wild fans with half a minute left, knowing that they might have to wait till Thursday night to find out, was something I think a lot of Winnipeg people enjoyed. That being said, they got it done. I mean, what a pass by Boldy when they absolutely needed it to get that game to overtime. Now they go to Vegas. I mean, do you give the Wild much chance? Do you think this will be a series?
The vibes are good for the Wild. I mean, you coming off that win, you coming off the Fleury and in overtime thing, like, and a little bit of a revenge series too. Fleury against the Knights, you kind of like that. I just think that Vegas, when they're at their full capacity of players, and I know there's some question about Eichel's health, for example, but when they're rolling, they can roll you, and I think they'll get most of their people back and healthy. They've been so solid all season long, kind of in a stealth way. I don't think the Knights have necessarily been mentioned in the same breath as your Floridas and your Colorados and Dallases and maybe even Winnipeg and Washington as far as the elite teams, but I think they are. So I would be genuinely surprised if the Wild can find their way through Vegas.
Now, you mentioned, I mean, we've talked so much about how good the Central is this year. I mean, the East version of that is the Atlantic, and the Leafs, to their credit, finished the job. They won the division, and the Battle of Ontario is back against the upstart Senators. We were going through the betting lines for this. I was surprised that this, I would have thought the Leafs would have been like a minus 200 favorite or so. The fact that the Ottawa Senators have beaten every time they played this year, I think, is factoring into this. Could the Ottawa Senators pull another upset and send the Leafs to the golf course after the first 2 weeks of the playoffs?
Well, I think there's a lot of Brady Tkachuk bettors, after seeing Four Nations, that just assume any team that's got him as the leader is going to be able to accomplish great things.
I can't wait to see him in the playoffs.
It's going to be so much fun. I mean, it's been such a long time coming, and I talked to him. Boy, it must have been before Four Nations about the chances for a Battle of Ontario, and it's not just being in the playoffs himself and not just getting this opportunity, but it's also he has such a recognition of what this means for the community in Ottawa, that there is a certain, we are fighting for our people in this rivalry against the Leafs. I take the Leafs in the series, probably. That's where I'm leaning right now. I think that they're just a better, deeper club. And as crazy as it sounds, because he's played extraordinarily well for them, Linus Ullmark's still got to show me in the playoffs. You know, I have some lingering PTSD from watching him implode for the Boston Bruins in the postseason. And some of that was injury related, in fairness to Linus. But he still has to show me that he's got what it takes to win a series like this. And until proven otherwise, I think the Leafs have enough to win a series like this.
Now, the other marquee series in the first round is the Battle of Florida, the defending champion Panthers, who actually finished third in the division. They'll be on the road for the first 2 games against the Tampa Bay Lightning. This is a great rivalry, and these teams have had some wild playoff series. They both won cups. Does home ice even matter in this one? And are the Panthers still the team to beat until someone does it?
I don't think home ice matters when you're playing the Panthers. I think they thrive on being on the road and playing the spoiler. And again, like they're the reigning Cup champion, but they're one of those teams that undoubtedly plays better when they feel like they're the underdog. And they won't be the underdog in this series, but Tampa is a very interesting team. I think that they are a lot better than anyone has given them credit for. I think the Andre Vasilevsky renaissance has been kind of overshadowed by Hellebuck, but he's been great. The two of the most important players on that team, Brandon Hagel, if it's not Kucherov, Hagel's their MVP this year. And the reacquisition of Ryan McDonough to kind of like calm things down on the back end and give them another pro back there, I think has been one of the most underrated acquisitions of the season. I'm probably going to take Tampa in this series. I'll probably end up regretting it because we've been kind of lulled into thinking what the Panthers have been in the last couple of weeks versus what they are when Matthew Tkachuk is healthy. But how healthy will Matthew Tkachuk be? Who's to say? I think the Panthers are a really great team and could easily make their way back to the Cup final. But I don't know. There's something about this Tampa team that's given me those throwback feels a little bit about them.
Greg Wyshynski is with us from ESPN. The other division has the Caps at the top of the East, waiting for Columbus or Montreal. And the Carolina Hurricanes right now is the biggest favorite of the opening round. And I think, obviously, that's got a lot to do with the injury situation, especially Jack Hughes being out in Devils. Can your Devils make this a series and pull off an upset? And do you have any concerns that Washington won't be playing in round 2?
No, I think the Caps are like Winnipeg. I think they've just been disrespected. If you watch them play, Spencer Carberry has them playing a system that is stout and steady. Now he has a little more talent to have that system work than he did last season. I think there's like a thought about how they fell apart in the playoffs last year against the Rangers, and also the fact that like outside of Ovechkin, they don't have another really star on that team. But when they play together, and if Logan Thompson can come back and be healthy in that series and goal, I think they'll easily move past either Montreal or the Blue Jackets. As far as the Devils go, it really depends on which Devils team shows up. There are times in the post-Jack Hughes injury era where they have been cohesive and effective, and Heischer looks like a star, and Bratt's carrying the team, and they get good goaltending, and they look like a team that could maybe their ceiling is the conference final. And then there are times they just look like they're a mess. They look like a team that had their heart ripped out of them when their best player went on the shelf. The series for me comes down to Jacob Markstrom. If they can get 4 really good games out of that guy, they have a chance to win this series against Carolina, which to me has a gaping hole where Mikko Rantanen or Jake Gensel should be. But I think ultimately Carolina probably should move on past the series.
Are the Habs going to be that team? I mean, I'm just pulling up this lineup tonight for Carolina, and I'm sure people in Columbus aren't too pleased. I don't see Sebastian Aho. I don't see Stankoven is in there. But I mean, listen, they couldn't get it done with the Blackhawks in town. Wouldn't it be something for the Blue Jackets to have something to play for tomorrow night?
It'd be great. I mean, they're listen, all due respect to Montreal doing what they've done down the stretch, but the Blue Jackets are obviously the much more compelling story as far as what they've overcome and just being in the playoffs. And also, for all the attention that Davidoff and Lane Hudson have gotten for Montreal, like Adam Fantilli's coming out parties this year too. I mean, he has been unbelievably good for them, and really had a star-making performance, I think, for the Blue Jackets this season. Along with a guy like Wishynski, for example. Listen, it'd be fun to have this thing go a little bit further, not for the schedule makers and not for people who have to make picks. My daughter was just lamenting that she can't lock in her NHL.com bracket until the final seed is established. But it would be fun to see this thing all the way through to like the last day of the season and see if the Jackets can sneak in.
Hey, you mentioned Fantilli. I've got to ask you this question because I was having it last night with a couple of friends. We were watching the Ducks game. And I know a lot of people don't see a lot of Ducks. Sometimes people see them on TV and their jerseys and uniforms are so ugly you have to change the channel. However, there is a young man in Leo Carlsson that to me is a star in the making.
Oh, yeah.
And I got thinking, you'll get a kick out of this. We're in Nashville for the draft. And I walk out afterwards, and there's a guy in a pro-stitched Ducks Fantilli jersey, assuming that the Ducks were going to take Fantilli, and then they went with Leo Carlsson, and Fantilli went in. Both of these players, I think, have incredibly bright futures. But if we went back and revisited the draft right now, after the great seasons both of these players had, who do you think would be the pick for just a team that wanted a top flight center? I mean, projecting forward, who will be a more valuable player, do you think, for their career?
I think it's Carlson. Because of his ceiling. Like, his ceiling is Malkin.
That's exactly who I think of when I watch him play.
Yeah, that's the comp. So, I mean, all due respect to Fantilli, who I think is fantastic and incredible hockey IQ and really, for me, also a great ambassador for the Blue Jackets. I think that kid's got a ton of charisma. When you're talking about a player of Carlson's size and skills and the ceiling is Malkin, like you're going to go with that guy all the time, even if he's a little bit more raw than I think Fantilli is.
I mean, hey, it's a fun conversation and two great choices from two players that I think every team would be salivating over. Wish, thanks so much for doing this. You mentioned that you're part of the Heli for Heart lobby. I guess, how does the voting work? The voting is done like over the next couple of days, and do you think Hellebuyck has enough support now, especially with Draisaitl basically sitting out the last couple of weeks of the season?
Well, first of all, the voting goes on until I think 5 p.m. Eastern time Friday. So that's the voting. That's when the voting ends. So there's two things kind of working against each other for Hellebuyck. One is that if Draisaitl came back to the pack, now all of a sudden there's three different options at forward. You're going to have some McKinnon people. You're definitely going to have some Kucherov people now that he has the Art Ross. And so the question that becomes, is there one that kind of emerges from that pack as the skater du jour, or does everybody siphon votes off from each other, in which case it could be good news for Hellebuyck? The other part of it that's kind of working against that, though, is that, again, you can count on one hand the number of guys that have won the Hart Trophy that are goaltenders over the last, 30 years. I mean, it was Hasek twice, Theodore, and Price. And that's it, right? And there have been guys that have stuck into the top three, but they've not won. And so the issue is that you have a lot of voters that don't believe a goalie should win the Hart. They believe the Vezina is the goalie award. They believe that because goalies play more than any other player on the ice, you can give the Hart to a goalie every year. There are just some people that aren't going to give a goalie the Hart Trophy, and that's sort of what you have to get past. That's why when goalies have won it, it's been for seasons that were undeniable in how good the goalie was and how important the performance was to the team's success. In my opinion, that's this season. That's what Hellebuck's done. Percentage of wins, all the stats categories would have you. This is the kind of season you reward with MVP. But I don't know if enough of my brothers and sisters in the Professional Hockey Writers Association would agree with that take.
You know, I mean, just in the past, I guess, 48 hours, I mean, Stolar's had a shutout, and I think he just got to the level where he counts, and I think he's got like a 1/100th save percentage better, and Kemper and Helly are tied with goals against. But only 2 goalies in NHL history have led the league in wins, shutouts, goals against average, and save percentages, where Hellebuck has been all season long. The last time it was done was in the 80s. It's Jacques Plante and Bertie Parent.
Yeah.
I'm sort of with you. If Hellebuck doesn't get that trophy this year, just say goalies can't win it, because I'm with you. I mean, if he is eligible, he is that dude. And the Winnipeg Jets' success this year as the number 1 team over the course of the regular season and back-to-back Jennings trophies, I don't think anyone's done that since your Devils in the early 2000s. I think those numbers and accomplishments sort of speak for themselves.
Yeah, we'll see. I think he's got an incredibly strong case. You know, the analytics are a little shaky too. I think he's maybe top 4 at last check, behind Vasilevsky, and maybe Shesterkin was in there too. I forget exactly how it shook out, but again, that's to say that he's very much in the mix for being the best analytics goalie, along with being in the mix for being the best traditional stats goalie. I just think, absent another guy, somebody having a 70 goal season or some crazy McDavid point total, absent of having that guy in the mix, I think the obvious answer is Connor Hellebuck.
Greg, thanks so much for doing this. Fill people in on what you and the ESPN team have cooking over at ESPN.com, as well as the pod, as we dive into the final 16 in round 1.
Yeah, me and Ardo Cal are doing our show The Drop. It's a special playoff preview edition on Friday. You can find it on the NHL and ESPN YouTube channel. I'll also have the link on my socials. And then for me, I get to have the best of both worlds. I get to get super smart and granular about the playoff bracket when I make my picks on Saturday. And then on Friday, I get to rate the Laps fans guide to the Stanley Cup playoffs for all the normies who have been watching the Masters and LeBron and want to check out what's going on in hockey. It's a joy. And I get to do 2 of them this week. I just finished my Laps fans guide to WrestleMania, so all the wrestling casuals can figure out what the hell they're going to watch this weekend. And then I get to do the hockey version of it for Friday.
Cena or Cody Rhodes? Who you got?
I think it has to be Cena, and then you run it back at SummerSlam. But there's also a part of me that thinks that you could bring Cena back from the dark side, the heel turn, and then have him win the title later this year as a face. But we'll see how it shakes out. I don't know. That's the joy of WrestleMania. You never really know how they're gonna.
What a weekend we've got ahead of us. WrestleMania, start of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Who's got it better than us, Greg? Who's got it better than us? Have a great one, my friend. Thanks so much for doing this, and enjoy the playoffs.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. There's Greg Wyshynski. Great having Wish on the program. Yeah, check out the NHL on ESPN YouTube. Some great stuff there. Hey, I want to welcome a new sponsor aboard and a great longtime listener and supporter of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Our pal Schenn has launched Let's Do It Travel here in Winnipeg. And listen, guys, whether you're planning a trip with the boys, maybe to get down to St. Louis to follow the Jets in the playoffs or in later rounds, or you're planning on booking next winter's all-inclusive, or tying the knot and making plans for a destination wedding, reach out to Schenn at Let's Do It Travel to make sure you're getting the most out of your vacation and stretching your dollar as far as possible. I mean, listen, your vacation time is precious. There's nothing worse. We've all heard stories. People thought, oh, I was getting this great deal online, and we went down to this place that looked great online, and then it sucked. And, I mean, you can't get that week back. This is an opportunity to connect with a real person to help you make great decisions and get the most out of your travel dollar. What you're going to want to do is check them out on Instagram. He's got a great page, something on the Masters, and some hotel ideas for Jet fans that might want to go to St. Louis. He's at Let's Do It Travel WPG, or you can check them out online at letsdoittravel.com. And here's the kicker. Let's Do It Travel is waiving their booking fees for Winnipeg Sports Talk listeners. Just let Schenn know we sent you, and he is and you were a WS tier. Again, hit him up, Instagram at Let's Do It Travel. Let's Do It Travel. And if you want to give a holler at him, at Schenn, we'd love to hear from you. 204-202-2040. But definitely, if you've got an Instagram account, give him a follow on Insta. You can check out some of the sports-related trips, and then obviously get in touch for destination weddings and making great decisions and getting great deals on all-inclusive winter vacations for next year. Welcome aboard. Let's Do It Travel. Great to have you on with us here on WST. Whiteout Mania is running wild, as the Hulkster would say, and the Whiteout Mania signs are here and available for pickup at your local Princess Auto. 2 locations, Panet Road and Portage Avenue West here in the city. And of course, for you Jet fans out in the west part of the province, get into the Brandon Princess Auto and pick those up. They just came in yesterday. We're starting to see some around the city, but do that. And of course, Princess Auto is a proud supporter of the Whiteout Mania. Details at the Jets website, but your hype songs, your crazy costumes, your Jets whiteout themed decorations at your home or your man cave, send it all in. I've already had some great videos that have popped out right now, but Princess Auto presenting Whiteout Mania, and they will be presenting some winners with playoff tickets. So make sure to get those entries in. Of course, Princess Auto, proud sponsors of Winnipeg Sports Talk and your Winnipeg Jets. Get those Whiteout Mania signs today for free at Princess Auto today. We're locked in on the playoffs, so not fishing season quite yet, but hopefully after a long playoff run, we'll be right in the midst of fishing season when the Jets are done. And I cannot wait to get out to Aikens Lake. Mark Larveld, our charity auction winner, going to be up with me in July. Cannot wait. Listen, if you are thinking about an amazing fly-in fishing experience with world-class hospitality where you can be on the water in less than 2 hours from the city of Winnipeg, Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge is the place. Find out more online at aikenslake.com and check them out on all of their socials over at Aikens Lake. And hey, speaking of fishing and boats, the turn of the season is here, everybody, and that means getting ready for spring and summer, which means batteries for your boats, your ATVs, trucks, and more. And you know that Donnie and the gang at Manitoba Battery have you covered on that. Get on down to Logan Avenue, Dovercourt Drive for the best prices in batteries, period. While you shop local, and hey, the best customer service in town, they'll even deliver those batteries to you for free anywhere inside the perimeter with any purchase over $60. It is just that easy. Hit them up today for free delivery at manitobabattery.com or pop in today and get ready for spring and summer with Donnie and the gang down at Manitoba Battery. All right, let's get Rewucki in here. We'll hear from Scott Arniel a little bit later on, as well as Luke Schenn. And got some great stuff from those players. But Brando, big news today going into the final game of the regular season. Alex Iafallo re-inks for 3 years. We've talked a lot about Iafallo's versatility and value to the team. I absolutely love this deal. I wasn't sure that it would be possible, certainly for the number that they got, but I think it speaks to, and after hearing him, it really does speak to the culture this team has built, how much guys want to stay and be a part of this, and how excited they are about the season and what's to come for this group. Oh, hold on a second. I think you're muted. I can't hear you. Reem?
Can you hear me now?
Yep, you're good.
There we go. No, I was just going to say that it's pretty wild at the start of the year. He was pretty much seen as a cap dump, right? Like, you know, if something opens up for the Jets, at least they have $4 million in salary that they can move on pretty quickly from. And now he's gotten to the point where, I mean, he might be a top line player for a couple rounds here. At the very least, it's setting up for him to be a top 6 player. I mean, he's been tremendous this season. He's been as good this year as he was in kind of his big breakout performance with the Kings a few years back. And I mean, that's a good contract in a 2022 salary cap world. In a 25-26 one where it's skyrocketing here, I mean, that's kind of peanuts. I'm pretty shocked the Jets were able to get him at a pretty good number. But I guess from Iafallo's perspective, he's in a place that he likes and an environment that he's performing well in, and he can kind of get a little bit of security locked in there. So win-win all around. But yeah, pretty solid number there for the Winnipeg Jets. And yeah, we'll see if he's going to deliver top-line value for $3.67 million over the next couple of weeks here.
Well, listen, he's been so good. And just, you know, the fact of this, and we've kind of been joking around, it's, you know, a tough scene for all that no one wants to play in Winnipeg takes. because once again, another guy, and this is an American guy, traded from the Los Angeles Kings, comes here and buys in the way that he's done. And listen, there's a lot of credit that deserves to be thrown around. Of course, you've got the ownership and the way that they've set things up for the team, for the players, the way that they're treated. But the one thing that just I couldn't get over hearing Alex just talk about how tight the group is and how close, and you really believed it. We've heard that before, and we knew that, frankly, a lot of that years past was kind of BS. And I just think about the job that Rick Bowness and now Scott Arniel have done in changing the culture of this team, the credit that a guy like Adam Lowry deserves as the captain, along with Josh Morrissey and Mark Scheifele. And, this is exactly what they set out to do when Rick Bowness showed up and took the C off Blake Wheeler's chest.
Yeah, and it was a 2-year project for Bones, too, to get the team to that point, right? And that's always going to be, look, this team goes on one hell of a run over the next couple of weeks. I don't know how things work, but as far as rings and names on the cup go, but Rick Bowness would certainly have a massive hand in playing his part in getting this team to where they're at right now. But in a way, too, the camaraderie and the tightness of the group is kind of, it's their identity, right? Like they have high-end talent in Hellebuyck and Josh Morrissey, but, up front, you can make the case they're a decent ways behind a lot of the other cup contending teams that are in the big dance coming up here, right? So they in a way need to rely and survive on, competing as a 5-man unit. And that needs to be their calling card coming up in the next couple of weeks here. So it's completely emblematic of that. And you know what else doesn't hurt too is picking up President's trophies and winning, 70% of your games. As a different league, of course, but as the Green Bay Packers found out, players, if they got a chance to win, they will flock and sign pretty much anywhere. So all that stuff you mentioned is good, but 50 wins a season is also going to be a pretty good enticement that the Jets organization can throw players away if it sets up that way over the next couple of years.
Well, that goes without saying. By the way, I should have mentioned this, but I'll do it right now. This segment is a presentation to your Prairie Toyota dealers who've got this great contest going on right now for another week or so, folks. And the grand prize includes a signed Mark Scheifele jersey, a signed Connor Hellebuyck jersey, and other great WST merch. Enter for your chance to win. Visit Prairie Toyota Dealers on Instagram at Prairie Toyota Dealers and on Facebook at Prairie Toyota to enter. It closes a week today on the 23rd. So enter today. There's a link in the description of this episode to take you directly there to enter. And of course, you can get in and go with the Toyota Tundra, backed by the peace of mind knowing it's a Toyota. And that quality means it has the strength to take on any challenge off-road or hauling a heavy load. And it looks amazing, too. $154 weekly for 60 months at 5.19% APR with $66.99 down. Hybrid available. You can find out more. Visit shoptoyota.ca. Brandon, you just mentioned the 50-odd wins. We've been talking about this incredible season all year long. They finally got to the finish line. Like before we get to the postseason, which of course will be the final judgment of every team that makes the playoffs. Just your thoughts on this magical run that's going to conclude tonight, potentially with the franchise record for points, a second straight Jennings trophy, another Vezina for Connor Hellebuyck, and a Hart consideration, serious Hart consideration. Been a pretty amazing ride.
Yeah, and I hope people enjoyed it. There's a decent dose of fatalism in the fan base and maybe in the province.
You don't say. Iafallo signed today, and the first thing they're doing was getting guys out of town before we even drop the puck on the playoffs. Chill, everybody. We got some games to play on the weekend.
Yeah, let's just there needs to be a little bit of just enjoy the present, right? We don't need to worry about the 2027 salary cap. But that's in a way that's kind of what makes Winnipeg in a sense, right? There's always going to be a little bit of vinegar to go along with the salt and the sweetness, but it's just so rare to have a season like the Winnipeg Jets just had. How many franchises have never won a President's Trophy? How many people haven't been alive to see their team win a President's Trophy? You know what I mean? regardless of how great a team is, it's a really, really rare occurrence. And I know that the playoffs are going to be the ultimate determining factor into whether or not this was a successful season. But it also doesn't mean that you can't celebrate and enjoy what's been a beyond of remarkable, pretty much from game one on, right? Like they start off the year. I mean, they started off as the hottest team in NHL history, and then they didn't drop off too much from that point after that. So I mean, we've seen great and good teams, have one-off seasons like this and potentially flame out. It's not always a guarantor of long-term success. So live in the moment, enjoy it. I think the team needs to raise a banner for it after, going into next season. The hope is that, it's a couple banners going up there, but I legitimately do think it's a noteworthy and celebratory accomplishment the Jets pulled off.
Oh, it absolutely is. I mean, like we've been saying on the show, hey, Winnipeg wants all the banners. Listen, you mentioned winning a President's Trophy in your lifetime. I've never seen a division title in my lifetime. And, part of that was growing up with the childhood ruined by the Oilers. And the other part of that was just how difficult this was. And we saw the way things slipped away from them in 2019. And the fact that they've done it. I mean, absolutely. You want to be division champs. You'd love to be the President's Trophy winners. But the ultimate prize is that third banner, or maybe two more. A Clarence Campbell, the Western Conference champion banners, and then a Stanley Cup banner as well. But there is lots of work to do ahead if we're going to be seriously talking about that possibility. The revenge tour starts with the St. Louis Blues. What do you think about the matchup and the upcoming best-of-7 between Winnipeg and St. Louis?
I mean, I like it from the Jets side of things. Obviously St. Louis is a different team second half compared to the first half. It's not an easy draw, but I still like the matchup from Winnipeg's perspective, even with the injury problems that they're dealing with right now. I don't have the same confidence it's going to be a short series like I did back in 2018 when it was against Minnesota in round one. That one, it felt like there was a pretty massive gap between the two teams, and that Jets team was just destined for something a little bit bigger, and Minnesota was the speed bump in the way. I think the Blues deserve a bit more respect than that Wild team, and I think they're going to provide a bit more of a stiffer test for the Jets. I think game one is massive in this series. Really the opening two in Winnipeg, like where that Ehlers isn't going to be in the lineup. Velarde, questionable at best, maybe doubtful for game one. At the very least, not close to 100%. So you're already down two big contributors up front. I like the depth matchup, the third and fourth lines for Winnipeg up against what St. Louis has to offer. But, it's going to come down to a little bit, if the Jets can't outscore the top lines of St. Louis, can they at least kind of grind them to a tie until the team gets a little bit closer to full strength? So I think, you didn't ask for a prediction, but I'll give you one. But I like Jets in 6. And I think it'll be a solid series and a nice opening salvo ahead of what's to come, looking at the part 2 of the revenge tour, potentially for the Jets here.
Yeah. Speaking of that, are you expecting that it will be the Colorado Avalanche that escapes from Dallas? I mean, I think there's a lot of reasons to like Colorado right now, and we just went through it with Wish. I mean, some legitimate reasons to be somewhat skeptical about Dallas, especially as long as Miro Heiskanen is not in their lineup.
Yeah, I almost want to pick them, though, because it's like, oh, you're all on the Avalanche, right?
They're plus 110 right now. That thing opened as a pick'em. Right now, I'm seeing at Coolbet, Avs minus 132, Dallas plus 110.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of struggle with this one because I feel like, normally recency bias is a hell of a drug, but like, how could we forget what happened 12 months ago? The Dallas Colorado looked unbeatable after the win against Winnipeg. And then the Stars suffocated them. Like the Avalanche were really lucky to push that series as long as they did. But Dallas was by far the superior team. And I think matchup-wise, I kind of like the Stars in that set there. But it's so impossible to ignore Heiskanen's absence. And if it's going to be, it might be the whole first round. But even if it's 5 or 6 games, I don't know, man. I don't know if Dallas has the horses right now to kind of keep up with what Colorado did at the deadline there. I'll lean towards Colorado, who I think might have a case for being the best team in the West, in all honesty. But I'm gonna have to think about that one a little more. I think stylistically Dallas matches up really well with Colorado, but it's gonna come down to what Heiskanen's availability is. If he's back for games 4 or 5, then it becomes a different conversation for me. But if it's they hope to get him back for a game 7, that's where I might just lean a little more towards Colorado, knowing that, at least entering the series, they're going to be a lot healthier.
Let me throw out the why not question of the day to the chat for Not Autocorp over at Waverly and McGillivray. Where are the upsets coming in round number 1? Like, let's take out Dallas, Colorado, because that basically opened as a pick'em. And let's take out Florida, Tampa, because I think that one, even though Florida's a slight favorite, is a pick'em. We're talking Blues, Wild, Kings, one of either Montreal or Columbus. We will still find out. The Ottawa Senators and the New Jersey Devils. Most likely team to pull an upset in round 1, Brandon.
I'm going to take LA. I love the way the Kings are playing. They're kind of a supercharged version this year of what they've been in the past, honestly. And like they didn't play poorly against Edmonton in some of those playoff series, right? Like they lost one of those in 6. They might have lost both of them in 6.
It went 7-6-5.
And I just think this year's team is miles ahead of what they had last year. And I think Edmonton's injury issue. I know McDavid kind of tried the rallying cry of everybody's looking at us like the Walking Dead over here, but you kind of are, Connor. Like, did he look around and notice there was a couple AHL guys to his left and to his right? Like, I think even fully healthy though, I would take the Kings over the Oilers this year. I like the way LA's playing. They're deep, they're fast, they forecheck the hell out of you. I mean, we've seen them only a couple times against the Jets, but I mean they kind of outclassed Winnipeg both times they played them. That'll be the one that I think I'm most confident about. And on the Edmonton side, Ekholm's a massive loss, obviously, but I don't know. I just get the sense that this is going to be the playoff run, but playoff series where Stuart Skinner he cost them. He cost them big time. And I think that's going to be the big thing they look back on, even more so than the Broberg-Holloway offer sheets, is that they wasted a year of McDavid and Draisaitl because they didn't get some kind of an upgrade in net. And so I think the Kings are going to finally end the curse and take down the Oilers in round 1. And I'll even say, if they get in, Montreal over Washington too.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, expand on that. I mean, this team can't beat the Blackhawks with the playoff spot on the line. And you think they're going to take down the number 1 team in the East? This is the disrespect the Jets get in and around the league. You're doing it to the Caps.
Yeah, I'm doing it to the Caps. It's funny saying this about the second wildcard team, but do they not have more elite talent than Washington does in Montreal?
I mean, I would say no.
I would take Suzuki over Dylan Strome or whoever you want to put up as the 1C in Washington. And the other thing I wonder too with Washington, I mean, watching Ovechkin down the stretch there, I mean, he's not moving super well up and down there's a lot of floating and, hey, if I'm open, throw me the puck. And he's still dangerous that way. I wonder if that's going to fly come playoff time. I wonder how much the chase was kind of a big push and boost for this team down the stretch. And now that that's over, like, is there a bit of a letdown there? And again, I kind of go back to matchups, and I think the way Montreal plays, I think they're going to give, if they get in, which is, again, funny to say, but if they get in, I think they're going to cause Washington a ton of problems there. I think goaltending, I know Logan Thompson's been great, but Sam Montembeault's been a hell of a goalie for a couple years too now. Like, I don't know. I kind of like Montreal and how they might suit up in that one, and they're not going to get a ton of respect. But you asked for a couple underdog picks, so I'll give them to you. I'm not gonna go I'm not gonna go 51%, 49% series. If you want underdogs, I'll give you underdogs.
I caps in 5 or less if that happens. What about Ottawa? There's a lot of love for Ottawa in the chat right now. And I'm not sure whether that's just wishful thinking by people that are not fans of the Toronto Maple Leafs, but this team is playing with house money. They've accomplished their goal this year. I can't wait to see playoff edition Brady Tkachuk. And they swept the Leafs this year. I mean, this is not just a simple, hey, congratulations for making the playoffs and they're going to get wiped out. I mean, I think this is going to be a war.
Yes, and a war suits one team more than the other in this series. I think my simple prediction would be this: Maple Leafs in 6, Senators in 7. I would bet the mortgage that if this one gets to 7 games, there is like zero chance Toronto's coming up with what it takes to get by Ottawa in that set. So if I'm the Leafs, I'm looking to try to end this one quickly. But it's funny too, because like you talk about, Ottawa comes in this group with no playoff experience, relatively speaking. But like, do you want the playoff experience the Leafs have right now? Like, it might be better off as being, too young and dumb to know any better. So I mean, again, I from the Leaf side of things, Ottawa is a tricky, a good team, a tricky first round matchup. But you have to win these. Like, it's that simple. If your core 4 and your team and all of that is as good as you believe in them, like this should be a series that they win without needing it to go 7 games. But I think Ottawa's going to push them. I'll put all my chips into that game 6, Huss. That's going to be the deciding factor for me if Toronto can get by them. I might be leaning Ottawa in that one. There might be a few upsets in my playoff bracket now that I start to think about this a little closer.
As I said, this is basically a pick 'em in my mind. Florida's a slight favorite. Tampa's going to have home ice, but the Panthers going to make another long run, or does their title defense end in 7 or less?
The thing with Florida is, are they playing rope-a-dope right now, or are they actually have they run out of gas? That's the thing I don't know right now. I would do this more as I'm not making this prediction on the Panther side of things. I just think Tampa's the best team in the East. They're my cup pick. They were my cup pick at the start of the year, so I'll stick with it. I think it's more that I just like what Tampa Bay has more so than anything that's going around with the Florida Panthers. But I mean, at some point here, it just becomes too much hockey. I think that's what it might just boil down to here. If Florida could maybe steal a couple early in the series, maybe they find a way to, use some of that championship pedigree and find a way to survive in the latter parts of the series. But I just think Tampa Bay this time around, they're a little too deep. Kucherov's playing as good as anybody on the planet right now. I think Ryan McDonough is kind of the unheralded secret sauce as to what makes the Lightning really tick. I think Nashville's really, talk about what makes Tampa good and all that, but like what Nashville could really have used this season was a little bit of McDonough. But I just like every bit of Tampa Bay right now. So spoiler alert for the rest of the East bracket, but I got them going to the Cup final.
Brandon, great stuff as always. Fill people in on what's cooking at Skates and Plates as we head into the postseason.
Yeah, well, one more playoff preview prediction show before things get underway. So that'll come out either Thursday or Friday, but I think Friday morning. And I'll unveil some lunatic predictions, which Huss didn't like too many of those. So there might be one or two others coming up.
Everything else I've got a lot of time for. I think you may have been huffing the paint in that room earlier, thinking that. I mean, again, they're not even in the playoffs yet.
That's the best part of it.
They need a point to get in, and the Blue Jackets. If Montreal loses in regulation and the Blue Jackets win in reg tomorrow, Columbus gets in, which would be an incredible story. Yeah. About what would also be an epic tank by the Habs, not getting it done, basically being on the verge of clinching for the last week plus. Brando, great stuff as always, buddy. Thanks for doing this.
Beauty. Sounds good. Have a good one. Enjoy game one of the playoffs.
You know it. Let's get to fan feedback brought to you by Fans First, your number one spot for buying and selling Winnipeg tickets on the resale market. We asked you all, by the way, not only is there no fees, so when you look at Fans First and see that price, that is exactly what you pay. Certainly the best place to sell tickets with prompt, fast payment the day after the game. Great customer service as well. Check out the site, fansfirst.ca. Who do we got? Running Man says Ottawa. T. Konopali's riding with Brando, with the Kings and the Habs. Phyllis likes the Sens and maybe the Devils. Ottawa over the Leafs. Ottawa and LA. Sens will be the upset. A lot of love for the Sens. Mean Gene Okerlund also dropping the Sens in there. Give us your thoughts. We'll be able to tomorrow. Everyone, once you hopefully know the full bracket, we can get your predictions. But keep them coming here. I do think Ottawa is a very live dog in this game. We'll get onto all those Caesars prices a little bit later on here on a Winnipeg Sports Talk. Fan feedback brought to you by Fans First, by fans, for fans, no fees. Check out the site today over at fansfirst.ca. Shout out to our friends at F Apparel. Gang, if you need to up your menswear game heading into spring and summer, get on down with the best in custom men's suits, chinos, golf pants, custom shirts, and the biggest selection of menswear accessories in town. And they've also got a couple great promos on right now. Free shirt and tie for any 2025 grad with the purchase of a new suit. And of course, if you're getting ready for the big day, wedding season just around the corner, F Apparel is the go-to spot in town for suits for the wedding party, for the big day, with a great discount when you and the fellas get your suits for the wedding day at F Apparel. Check them out online at EPHapparel.com or pop down and see him at 190 Smith Street. Shout out to our friends at Royal Sports. I mentioned yesterday those limited edition Ovi hats just came in. We're waiting on the limited edition White Jet New Era collab they did. Those hats will be coming in. I can't wait to grab one of those for the playoffs. But of course, the whiteout section is packed right now. If you're getting ready for the weekend, whether you're doing the whiteout party, whether you're going to the game, whether you're getting together with friends at a BP or somewhere else, Royal Sports has it all for you, all in white. So make it today. You get down to your Jets headquarters at Royal Sports and get ready for the Stanley Cup Playoffs. Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway. Well, I have a feeling there's going to be a few generics and 1919s enjoyed at the game. We just need to find out when it is. But of course, Little Brown Jug is in the building at Craft Beer Corner. And our friends at Little Brown Jug fired up the playoffs. Let's give a big cheers to them right now on Winnipeg Sports Talk.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
Shout out to the legend T. Konopali dropping a super chat in there. Leafs have to get past T-Bay in round 2. And Jets past Avs in round 2. Strong possibility of a Canadian Cup final. Can you imagine if the Leafs got to the conference finals in the East and an Edmonton-Winnipeg Western Conference final? Whew. Sign me up for that. Hey, it's great to see all the Canadian teams in, but as I've always stated, I only want one Canadian team to win the Stanley Cup, and that's the Winnipeg Jets. So we'll get after it. We'll find out when these games are, and we'll be there. But the Winnipeg Jets know their opponent. They're preparing for the St. Louis Blues. Scott Arniel spoke earlier today. Here's what he had to say on the matchup being set and the Blues being the opponent.
We know who our first round opponent is. We'll start. We've already started. Obviously, we're looking at stuff from all three teams. But not until we finish game 82. I have no comment about Minnesota. Calgary, St. Louis, obviously it's St. Louis now. We got lots of time to talk about that. We got some work to do here still. We're not done the regular season.
Okay, so then do you have the...
Sorry to wreck all your questions, but that's where we're going today. So I'm going Bill Belichick today. So.
All right, not full Belichick. We're not on to Cincinnati. They'll be on to St. Louis, though, after this game tonight. They do have a game against the Ducks, the final game of the regular season, and the full squad's going to be suiting up for it tonight. Here's Arnie on playing the full lineup this evening.
You know what? All the players want to play. It's too long of a stretch. They don't want to go a week without playing, and at the end of the day, that's the part about playing Anaheim tonight is about our habits, about doing all the things we've been doing for 81 games, and making sure that we get our game up and running here as best it can possibly be going into the weekend. So, there isn't any guys that don't want to play tonight. I know I have the say on it, but we had some rest days the last couple of days. The guys didn't have to skate it if they didn't want it. So, it's just prep again for us for what's going to come.
All right, so there's the coach on tonight. Now, the big news we talked about right off the top of the show, Alex Iafallo re-upping with a 3-year contract extension in Winnipeg. Here's the head coach on the Iafallo re-signing and him choosing to stay here in the Peg with the organization.
We're really happy that he decided that he wanted to be here 3 more years, and we're excited about that as an organization. He's, like I've mentioned, the Swiss Army knife for us. He plays in all situations. But the other side, he's a Buffalo kid that became a surfing dude out in L.A., and he's a backcountry guy here. You know what? He's taking advantage of places that he's lived, and you love that. You love the fact that, he wants to be here, and he has other things. Like we have a lot of players that like to take advantage of what's offered around Winnipeg and Manitoba. So he's that kind of guy. It's whether he's on the ocean or he's back in the backwoods, he's just how he spends his off days. All summer long we get into those free agent situations and the trade deadline, how hard it is to get guys to come here. When you get guys that want to be here, and like you mentioned, whatever his reasons were, we're excited for that. We showed and talked to him about his importance to our hockey team now and then in the future. He recognizes the part for me as maybe just looking at it, not so much as his coach, but he recognizes he's in a good spot. He's in a good position. He's well used, well liked, very popular. And those are all real good things. You don't know what you're going to get when you go out to free agency. You don't know where that you may have to start all over again and build again. And, for him, he likes this situation and we like him. And so it's worked out real well.
All right, so there's Jets head coach Scott Arniel on the Iafallo re-signing. Now, there is still a little bit of business tonight. With the win, the Jets can set a new franchise record for points in a season on top of the Central Division title and, of course, the President's Trophy banner. Here's Arnie on that opportunity tonight for his team.
I don't want to diminish any of the things that we've done because they're outstanding. But these are all stuff maybe you talk about after everything's over and done with. But at the end of the day, it's another thing to be proud of. But we still have a team that's trying not to let us do that. And it's a young team that's been playing pretty loose and carefree. And like we've seen recently of some teams and. They got some top end skills. So we still have to go out and do those things I just talked about. We got to be detailed. We got to be structured, and we got to be competitive.
One more quickie from the coach, and that is a daily injury update. Here's what he had to say.
We know Gabe skated yesterday on his own. Did he skate at all today?
Yeah, he was back out there today.
Okay. And Rasmus still not skating?
Not yet. No, not yet. Good. Thank you.
All right, so nothing on Ehlers. I don't think we'll get an update until next week after the week-to-week diagnosis yesterday from the coach, or the announcement of that diagnosis. And great news that Gabe Vilardi's skating. Let's see what that means after tonight's game into these next few days as the Jets prepare for Game 1 of the season. Let's hear from Luke Schenn. And, we're getting Schenn on Schenn today, in this series. Braden, captain of the Blues, Luke Schenn, the big bruiser, added to the blue line for the Winnipeg Jets at the deadline. Here's Luke about going up in a playoff series against his bro.
Yeah, it's the first time for sure, and obviously, looking down the stretch, and obviously when the Blues started heating up there, like I said, I was cheering for Braden and hoping that he'd get the opportunity to get in. Obviously, it was a bit of a crazy deadline, and he was in the mix of some chatter, and it's kind of worked out where the team kind of got hot down the stretch, and he ended up being a huge part of that. And like I told you last time, I'm biased, but he's the leader behind that group, and I think did a good job. And like I said, I was cheering for him down the stretch. Realizing it could be an opportunity or a possibility, I should say, of playing against one another, and not that we were necessarily hoping for that. But it's worked out that way, and it's going to be game on starting. Obviously we play tonight, but starting tomorrow.
All right, so Luke Schenn on going up against his brother, and I guess he had a little conversation today with brother Braden. Here's what he had to say about their communications.
Well, we talked this morning on the way to the rink, and obviously, just congratulated him obviously on getting in, and like I said, it's not something that we were hoping or wishing for. I was joking around with him earlier. If I was still in Nashville, I'd be cheering for the Blues right now. So obviously things have totally changed, and I couldn't be more proud to be a part of this group heading into the playoffs. And like I said, it's I wouldn't say you even dream of it, playing against your brother in the Stanley Cup Playoffs. It's not really something that ever crossed our minds. Played with one another, in Philadelphia in the playoffs, but never against each other. And I think as far as communication goes, we'll get through tonight, and then probably not chat much or at all. Once the playoffs start, which is good. I mean, he doesn't need to know what's going on, with our team and vice versa. He's the captain there, and he's not gonna, passing along any inside information, obviously. So it's a strange one. Obviously, like I said, we talk pretty much daily throughout the course of the regular season, and I would say we're pretty in the know and in the mix in terms of what's going on with each other's teams for the most part, and this is just going to be a totally different scenario.
All right, so Luke Schenn on his chats with Braden before things go radio silent into the playoffs. What about the parents? I mean, their son's going head-to-head in the playoffs. Luke talked about what his parents think of the head-to-head matchup between the Schenn brothers.
Like I said, my dad always says when we play each other in the regular season, he says he just wants us to take it to overtime, and then it's up to us to figure it out. And now it's, I don't know. I mean, either way, they're going to have someone walking away into the second round, so I guess that's positive. But, it's I don't even know what to think or what they're thinking. I think, they're probably just hoping that they're cheering for us individually, and they'll be supportive any which way. And, I haven't really talked. I just got a couple texts even from my sisters last night, just being like, "You got to be kidding me." So so that was pretty much. I'll talk more to them in the coming days here. So.
Yes, the Schenn family will be front and center, I'm sure, throughout. Luke was asked, "What about the attire for the parents? What jerseys are the rest of the Schenns going to be wearing for this Jets Blues series?"
I don't know. I mean, I think they'll be pretty neutral. I don't know if they're not going to be wearing jerseys. I don't see them ever wearing a jersey to the games. But I don't know. Maybe my dad will be switching between a Jets and a Blues hat every TV timeout or something like that. Who knows?
So you haven't talked to them since the format was decided?
We talked a little bit. I'll talk to my parents a little bit more. I think probably when I jump in the car on the way home here. I talked to Braden this morning, and texting with my sisters last night, and random texts from just friends and family who've always been in our corner, supported us, followed our careers. People from back home in Saskatoon, and I think everyone's got the same opinion. Just how the heck did this happen? Because you draw this up, even a month ago in terms of, I was. I obviously didn't believe that I was, going to be traded to Winnipeg, and at the time he was potentially going to be traded at the deadline, and the Blues were on the outside looking in. So a lot had to happen in order for this to happen, and it's not in our control. We're gonna, like I said, do whatever we can to help our own team win.
All right, Luke Schenn of the Winnipeg Jets on the family ties in this Jets Blues series. Here's one more from Schenn. Of course, the big news today was Alex Iafallo deciding to forego unrestricted free agency and re-sign in Winnipeg. And Schenn talked a little bit about that and just, what has surprised him during his short time after becoming a Jet about this team, the organization, and what we've got going on here in Winnipeg.
Well, it's a first-class organization. Obviously, to be honest, I've had some buddies who I've, played with who've been here in the past, but I didn't really know anyone currently on the team, which is, I think a little bit rare. I've played with a lot of guys around the league on a lot of teams, and I didn't really know anyone, too well on this team. And coming in here, just how professional the group is, the way you get treated from the top down, as far as how the organization treats you, how they care about family is a big part of it too. And they do everything the right way, and obviously a real passionate fan base. So it's been a good fit and a wild journey that I didn't anticipate, but obviously looking forward. We got a big game tonight, and we'll go on from there.
All right, so there is big Luke Schenn. Some great stuff from Schenn in advance of this Jets Blues series. One more game tonight. It is fan appreciation down at Canada Life Center. Free hot dogs, pop, tons of prizes. Should be fun, and then the real fun gets started next week. Let's do a quick Breezy Bend golf report. We do have the RBC Heritage coming up on the PGA Tour this week. We hit our picks in today's lock shop if you want to check that out. Of course, everybody's still buzzing about Rory McIlroy's win at the Masters on the weekend, and Rory will not be playing. He went back to Hollywood, Northern Ireland, to celebrate with his family and friends back home. But it is a signature event, so a lot of the top players, most of the top players are in it. Scotty Scheffler, obviously, is the favorite. But on a Manitoba note, Munsey just hit me up today and wanted me to mention that registration for all Golf Manitoba provincial championships is now open. Go to golfmb.ca for details and to register. That's for all Golf Manitoba provincial championships. And, of course, Breezy Bend hosting the Manitoba Open this year. Cannot wait to get out there as Breezy Bend shows off everything they've been doing to the course and the clubhouse over the last 5 years for the biggest tournament in Manitoba every year. For more information on membership or to get in on the waiting list at Breezy Bend, give our pal Corey Johnson a call over at the golf course or check them out online at breezybend.ca. All right, we will talk more about these series and get some of the betting lines on it as to what the bookies think who's going to advance. But next week, a very special day for our table tennis community. Right now, let's step away from the pucks for a minute for It Takes a Community to Play with Sport Manitoba. All right, it's time for another Winnipeg Sports Talk. It Takes a Community to Play segment with our friends at Sport Manitoba, presented by Manitoba Liquor and Lotteries. And this is going to be a real fun one. Next Wednesday is World Table Tennis Day. And Winnipeg, Manitoba has been selected from entries around the world to be a part of it. And it's an absolute pleasure to welcome in Carlos Cuadra, the Executive Director of the Manitoba Table Tennis Association, to Winnipeg Sports Talk. Carlos, what's going on? Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah,
we're gonna have a lot of fun next week.
No doubt, no doubt. I mean, I've heard about this, and we thought this would be a great time to get you on the program and tell us a little bit about the event next Wednesday, but also a little bit more about your sport and how people can get involved. This World Table Tennis Day sounds like a pretty big deal for the sport around the world, and what a cool opportunity for Winnipeg to be a big part of it here in Canada.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, we were very lucky that we have this opportunity. We're also very thankful for it. We're going to have the chance to promote our sport at local, Canada, and worldwide too. And the focus of the event will be diversity and inclusion. So we're trying to have a lot of fun, promote our sport, and also promote a good cause.
What went into getting to be a part of it? I mean, it sounded like, this is a worldwide sport, and a lot of people wanted to have events like what we're going to have here next week.
We applied and out of 160 applications we got in, only 30 other were selected. And again, we're really thankful for the opportunity. In whole Americas, only 7 were selected. And because of that, the ITTF, which is our international table tennis body, help us to organize the event, give us financial support, and also like they are promoting our event and highlighting it worldwide.
Well, I mean, table tennis is such a great sport because it's something that just about anybody can pick up and play at a very beginner level. But I think what really blows people's minds, Carlos, is when we see the Olympics or see highlights of some of these insane rallies of the top players in the world. This sport is a jaw-dropping action, and I imagine this is sort of something that you're going to be trying to expose Winnipeggers, Manitobans to on World Table Tennis Day.
Sure. Actually, on the event, and I would like to point out that everyone is invited, so it's free. Please come. Let your friends and family know. It will be in the Forks Market from 5 to 8 p.m. on the South Aisle. We're gonna have the exhibitions from 5 to 6, and we're gonna be having, as you mentioned, all those jaw-dropping table tennis that you see in Olympics. They said there's no way they could be that far away from the table. We're going to have it right here at the Forks Market. You will see it live, and you won't believe it. It's going to be amazing.
So I mean, what people need to know for World Table Tennis Day to sort of be a part of the event is to get down to the Forks. I mean, we've got 3 hours. You're going to have some top-level players. What else is going to be part of World Table Tennis Day that people can enjoy and be a part of?
So that day, we're going to have the exhibitions. We're also going to have challenges for the public. So maybe you can get some award if you challenge one of the pros. We're going to have national level players, provincial players. And additionally, we're also going to have a booth for donations for the Alzheimer's Society of Manitoba. So also we want to bring awareness of dementia and like what the symptoms that you get with it and how can we help. So if you guys would like to do a little donation, that would be amazing.
Well, and you mentioned that. We'll get back to the growth of the sport and what's going on here in Manitoba. But we were talking earlier, there's some pretty interesting research on how playing table tennis can really help people as they age with things like that. Tell us a little bit more about that.
So it's proven that table tennis active parts of the brain that can help minimize the impact of dementia on people who are playing the game. And also it can minimize the growth of it or reduce the risk of getting it. So I think it's great because you have the opportunity to be mentally healthy and also physically healthy. So you get 2 in 1.
Carlos Cuadra is with as the executive director of the Manitoba Table Tennis Association, and we are getting ready for World Table Tennis Day, which is touching down in Winnipeg next Wednesday, April 23rd at the Forks from 5 until 8. I imagine this is also a good opportunity for maybe people that have, played a little ping pong in the basement with their brother to come out and see it at a much higher level, but also potentially get involved at a higher level as well, Carlos.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of our slogans is get out of the basement. We want to get you to socialize with other people, meet other people who are playing table tennis. And I mean, in our community, we have all levels, all backgrounds. You don't need to be a professional to come, have some fun, talk to some friends. Maybe after that, go have some something to eat, just chill. That's pretty much the idea. We want to get people to connect and make a strong connection with table tennis.
Now, obviously, it's a big, big event for the table tennis community, and hopefully can grow it next Wednesday for World Table Tennis Day at the Forks. But, you're working 12 months a year trying to grow the game. Just give us a bit of an idea about where table tennis is at right now in Manitoba. How many players do you have going? What sort of events? I mean, what should people know about maybe getting involved and what there is for them outside of the big day next Wednesday?
So after that, we have multiple events in the province. We have a circuit of tournaments with 5 tournaments in Winnipeg and some of them outside the city. Like those are additional events. So we have multiple ones. Just on April 26th, we're going to have the Modern Table Tennis Tournament. We also do one tournament at the Forks Market, which is free. We do it once a year, so there is no excuse to go give it a try. Maybe you can win a trophy, have some fun, connect to other people. We additionally have other events, like we have events here at Sports Manitoba where you can come try table tennis, and we also have trainings. So if you have a kid who is willing to, like, maybe give it a try to table tennis, you don't know, maybe it could be the next champion. The only thing you need to do is go to our website, mtta.ca. We have all information about our programs, events, and clubs where you can go play.
So mtta.ca for Manitoba Table Tennis Association.ca. So I'd really encourage people, if they're interested in getting a little more information or getting involved, or maybe there's someone else in the family that, you know, is an ace and smokes everyone in the family at your tournament games, you got to step up the level of competition a little bit. It is such a fun game. I mean, it is something that everyone can be involved in, but the athletes that are playing at a high level are truly special. I know you've been a player as well. You know, for someone that came to Canada later on in life, how big has table tennis been in you and with you as far as, you know, settling here in Winnipeg, making friends and really putting down roots? I mean, I imagine the sport's a big part of that.
Yeah, no, 100%. Actually, I'm originally from Nicaragua, and I came here a couple of years ago, and my rule is, like, wherever I go, I always try to play table tennis. So as soon as I land in Winnipeg, the first thing I did is, like, where can I go play? And I think that's really, like, powerful thing about sport. Right away, first day I'm here, I'm playing with some people, I make some connection, I make some friends, and I think that's the beauty of sport. So it has been a really, like, great journey, and now I got the opportunity to work for the Table Tennis Association here in Manitoba and contribute back to the sport that has given me so much, and I hope we can give a lot to other people too.
I mean, it's just a great example about, you know, how somebody new to the community can make connections and have fun physical activity. And I would suggest that there's probably a lot of people that, you know, are listening to the program right now that might be interested to do that. And obviously there's tons of great programs that Carlos just laid out. You can check those out at the website, and of course be a part of World Table Tennis Day next Wednesday at the Forks. I guess part of a big event like this, Carlos, on next Wednesday, but also the tournaments that you mentioned and the activities, this stuff doesn't happen without support from the community and individuals. I'd just love to get your take as the executive director on the importance of people lending their time coaching as well as volunteers, and how important that is in both, you know, running your programs, but also growing the game of table tennis here in the province.
I think you pointed out really well. It takes a village to be where we are. And I mean, we wouldn't be here without the support of a lot of people that's dedicated a lot of time to help us. I think nowadays, especially how things are with prices and having to work, giving time, being a volunteer is very difficult. And we have no words we cannot express how thankful we are for all the time and support that they have given us. And if we are here where we are, it's because of all the people who are backing us, sponsors, volunteers, officials, that no matter if they have 2 or 3 jobs, or they can make some time to really help us out and also help us to reach our goals. We want to grow the sport, want to make table tennis more popular in Manitoba, and we want everyone to join and have some fun.
Well, there's going to be a lot of fun happening at the Forks next Wednesday, April 23rd. It's World Table Tennis Day, 5 to 8 p.m. You want to see live in person some of these dudes that are 20 feet behind the table, whacking the ball, and these epic rallies that go on forever. This is your chance to do it and find more about the sport and get involved. Quick rundown. Where in the Forks is it again, Carlos? Like, for people that just come down there, just quick 411, what they need to know if they want to come and be a part of it.
So we will start right at 5 p.m. in the Forks South Aisle. So that's where the Ferguson Fries is, on that area of the food court. I think you're going to be able to find the noise of the ping pong ball. That's what they call it, ping pong. The sound will be there. So that can help you figure out where we are. And we're also going to have some volunteers helping you out. So in case you have any questions, we're going to be around to guide you there.
And of course, all information on World Table Tennis Day, as well as all the other ways that you can get involved in the sport, is online at mtta.ca for the Manitoba Table Tennis Association. Carlos, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the program. Congratulations on winning this bid. Good luck and all the best to you and the entire table tennis community for World Table Tennis Day next Wednesday, April 23rd, down at the Forks. I hope you guys have a great time and the sport continues to grow.
Thank you so much, Andrew. We really appreciate the opportunity and the support you guys gave us to promote this event.
It was our pleasure. Carlos Cuadra, Manitoba Table Tennis Association, next Wednesday, 5 p.m., the Forks. You know where to be to check it out. That is another episode of It Takes a Community to Play with Sport Manitoba, brought to you by Manitoba Liquor and Lotteries. All right, good stuff. Appreciate Carlos jumping on the program today. Lots of good feedback for that interview. You love to see it. And again, that's next Wednesday, 5 p.m. So if you're kicking it downtown for work, I mean, pop over to the Forks afterwards or, head downtown and check out everything that's going on. I would love to see. Listen, if there's no game or I can get down there, even if there's a game, I'll get down there early. I am totally in to check out like some high-level table tennis. Love watching it in the Olympics and whatever graces the television, but to see it in person would be pretty darn cool. Anyways, thanks again to Carlos for jumping on, and best of luck to the entire table tennis community on World Table Tennis Day. All right, let's get Remo back in here. And Reem, it was funny. I was doing the lock shop today, and Dusty was set up at Boston Pizza in Edmonton. And they were letting him try a bunch of delights from the new playoff menu, which I believe they've dropped a new triple pepperoni pizza, which I am in. The wing flights are back. They've even got a wing pizza with the all-meat bites in your favorite wing sauce on it. So BP is completely locked and loaded at local locations for the playoffs. But Reem, we got a special delivery today to Winnipeg Sports Talk that Boston Pizza is more than ready for the playoffs.
Yes, Boston Pizza, very ready. They also want us to get ready too. So check this out. They sent me this box here. Hold on. They sent me this box here. Check out this box that arrived in the WST office. It says, if we plan it, we will win. What the heck?
Plan to win. I'm in.
What the heck does that mean? So you open the box, and on the upper lid, it says, this year, we truly believe a Canadian hockey team will win it all. In fact, we're so confident, we're going to Field of Dreams this thing and manifest a win. We've already started planning the parade. They want to end the drought. That Canadian team hasn't won since 1994. It says, because when you believe like this, it's not just hope, it's fate. So what is in the box here that Boston Pizza sent us? Check this out. They've got everything we need for a parade. This is our parade kit now if the Jets win. We got goggles. We got a bottle of champagne to go with the goggles. We've got Champion room spray. And I will describe the Champion room spray very soon. We got a Lucky Looney and some motivational quotes as well. We got some motivational quotes. So check out this Champion room spray. It says, "Hey Andrew, they say build it and they will come. We say smell it and they will win." After 32 winless years up north, Boston Pizza is here to help Canadian hockey fans manifest dreams into reality in the most pungent way possible, including the Boston Pizza Championship room spray. The only room spray designed to make any space smell like that post-win locker room celly. With notes of champagne, lager beer, sweaty hockey gear, used pucks, and 32 years of Canadian frustration, the spray replicates a true hockey championship. So I can tell you right now that I think in shipping, this room spray, the bottle got kind of cracked. You can see like liquid stains on the box. So my entire house right now smells like championship room. And if that's what we need to do to manifest a Winnipeg Jets win in the playoffs, we can do that. And they included a lucky loonie. I will tape the loonie to the bottom of my desk, too, for the duration of the playoffs.
You know what? I'm just thinking about hearing you drop all this. I think we need to get you once a day or before the games to read out the motivational quotes.
Oh, you want me to read one
in your trademark deadpan delivery? I think it would be great.
Want to do one? Here, one second.
Yeah. Let's get people motivated for the final game of the regular season. Maybe a franchise record. And I'd like to manifest a clean sheet. I won't say the S word, but a clean sheet for our goaltender tonight. Just to get those numbers up, where he might be a little more helpful for Hart Trophy. All right, give us just one motivational quote that we can take with us today.
It says, "You said this. This team is ruining my life. But you really should say this. Wow, this team keeps me dreaming big. I believe in them." So shout out. This is the motivational. I guess each side said like the negative thing that fans say when they're
yes,
and then
yes.
and how, hey, we got to think positive thoughts, and we have our celebration kit ready to go. Shout out to
we got the
Boston
championship
Pizza.
Room spray ready.
We got so much room spray.
That motivational quote sounds like a Leaf fan, but
yeah,
as Rewucki pointed out, there's plenty of fatalist Jets fans as well. So
these quotes smell like room spray. Huss, like my whole office smells like a championship winning locker room.
We might need to get a couple triple peps and
it's crazy.
some wings in to change that to change that smell there. Anyways, thanks to our friends
Derek
at Boston Pizza.
Wants me to try on the goggles. Should I try them on?
Yeah. Put the goggles on.
Okay, I wasn't gonna wait, but hold on.
Even though, you know what, and this is not a playoff jinx. This is goggles for the regular season and the President's Trophy.
All right.
This is the President's Trophy version.
Well, hey, they get champagne parties in baseball, like when they clinch the playoff, right?
When they do anything in baseball, they do champagne parties.
The Jets should have had 3, like one for clinching the playoffs, one for clinching the division, one for clinching the President's Trophy. And maybe they do one for getting a franchise record in points. Like they should have be spraying champagne all over the place.
Guys should have been drinking champagne nonstop for the last week and a half. But
okay, I was like, I can't see with these on. I thought the room spray got all in them, but there's a sticker. Let me take this. This is the sticker. Okay, let's try these championship goggles. I don't know if this is a good brand. All right, we're all set here. We're all set.
Here we go. All right, you've got the championship bottles. We're saving that. We're saving that for late June, and the championship room spray is ready to go. Well, while we're doing that, let's talk a little playoffs right now on the Coolbet lines.
Yeah, sure.
Well, actually, before we get to the lines, let's get to tonight's action because all eyes are going to be on the Bell Center. The Habs have another opportunity to finally get the job done and clinch a playoff spot. They need a point. If they lose in regulation and the Columbus Blue Jackets win tomorrow in regulation, the Habs are out and Columbus is in. Montreal is a -130 favorite tonight. Carolina +110. Columbus won't be too pleased that some key players in the Canes lineup will not be dressing tonight, including Sebastian Aho. The Jets, -294 favorites against the Ducks. Ducks +240. Red Wings Devils. The Wings -112 favorites. Dallas is in Nashville. Dallas is -164 faves. Knights and Canucks are a pick'em in Vancouver. And the Edmonton Oilers complete their season against the San Jose Sharks tonight at -217 favorites. Now, here are your series prices for the first round for the 7 series that we know. The Winnipeg Jets are -238 favorites. The St. Louis Blues +190. Let's see here. The exact scores. So Jets sweeps 7-1. Jets 4-1 plus 350. Jets 4-2 plus 365. And Jets in 7 is plus 400. A Blues sweep is 25-1. Blues in 5, 10-1. Blues in 6 plus 650. Blues in 7 plus 650. The series total for the games, under 5.5 is plus 130. Over 5.5 minus 175. Series to go 7 games is plus 215. And they've also got some props. Jets to win game 1 and the series is minus 115. So maybe a different way to bet it. Plenty of options there for you. What else do we have here? We've got the Edmonton Oilers and the LA Kings. The Oilers minus 133 favorites. Kings plus 110. Oilers open at minus 154. So that has actually been going towards the LA Kings. The Dallas Stars, the Stars and the Avalanche. This was a pick'em. I mentioned this to Wish earlier. Colorado now minus 132 faves. And Dallas is plus 110 over at Coolbet. The biggest favorite of the first round's the Hurricanes, minus 270 for Carolina, plus 215 for New Jersey. Let's see, what other series have we not touched on yet? Tampa and Florida. Tampa is plus 103, and the Florida Panthers are minus 125, which is pretty close to a pick'em. And the Leafs, this is interesting. The Leafs minus 172. Ottawa plus 140. Even though Ottawa won all their games against the Leafs this year, I kind of thought we'd be closer to minus 200, Reem. That being said, I still do think Ottawa's a live dog in this series. And I would be surprised if it didn't go to 6, if not 7 games in the Battle of Ontario.
Yeah, a lot of people getting flashbacks, Hess, of when, it was the Ottawa Senators were always like the top team in the league and could never get it done against the Leafs. Bring back a lot of bad memories, to people who are Sens fans from before. But I'm excited for this matchup. I think it's exciting to have the 2 Canadian teams, 2 Ontario teams, and I loved that playoff rivalry. I think I was cheering for the Sens back then. There were no Jets here, and they could never quite get over the hump. They did get to a cup final in 2007 and lost, but we will see what happens. I'm excited for Brady Tkachuk in the playoffs.
Me too.
First time
Me
him.
too.
I agree with that. And I know Toronto, congratulations to them on winning the division. And what does this mean for the future of the Leafs? What's going to happen with Mitch Marner after this? Is this the last series or the last playoffs that he plays for them? John Tavares as well? We'll have to see.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether Mrs. Paul Marner and their associates in the media will bend the Leafs over like they did on their last contract negotiation. But it certainly will be an interesting offseason. And, if they get bounced by Ottawa, how do you just run it back with the same guys year after year after year? Dusty asked me today what team has the most pressure to win the Stanley Cup this year. And I'm like, I don't really know if there's a team. Dallas maybe, having gone to the conference finals the last couple of years, getting Ranton and all that. But I would say the Jets have the most pressure to get out of the first round along in the West, along with the Toronto Maple Leafs. And hey, if both of those teams can get through the first round, see what's possible beyond that. But there's definitely a lot of pressure here in Winnipeg and in Toronto for their teams to advance past the first round because certainly in Winnipeg that hasn't happened in the last 2 years, and Toronto's done it just once as a group with as currently constructed. It's all up there for you at Coolbet, ready for the National Hockey League playoffs. NBA play-in tonight. The Miami Heat take on the Chicago Bulls in Chicago. Bulls minus 130 faves. And the Sacramento Kings are big favorites against the Dallas Mavericks, minus 208 for Sacramento. Futures are up for the NBA. The futures are up for the NHL. We'll hit those as well over the course of the next couple days as we get this final series set. And of course, as we mentioned in the Breezy Bend Golf Report, it's the RBC Heritage this weekend. All your odds are up there. The leader, or the odds leader, 400 for Scotty Scheffler. But if you do want to bet Sheff, go into the exclusives. And there's an exclusive where you can get him at plus 450. Alexander Schauffele, 15-1. I'm going to put a little sprinkle down on Vic Hovland at 32. And then my two guys right beside each other. I can't quit these guys, but I love the numbers. 66-1 for Wyndham Clark and Minwoo Lee. Clark finished third at Hilton Head last year. It's all waiting for you at coolbet.com. Great sponsor of Winnipeg Sports Talk and partners of ours. Use the promo code WST if you haven't played there before for a 100% bonus on your first deposit up to $200. Good luck. And shout out to everyone that rode with us. Partner parlay last night. One more time. Plus 550 with the Flames, the Blues, and the other team that needed to do it. Oh, Columbus Blue Jackets. Columbus Blue Jackets, of course. We just left Minnesota off. Ironically, they almost lost that game. There was a lot of stress in the Twin Cities, but they ended up getting the job done, and they avoid Winnipeg. They have not. I think it was List that put that up last night. They have not had a lot of success with the Jets against the Jets over the last few years. It has been all Winnipeg in that matchup and rivalry. So I get why some people wanted Minnesota. I still am a little nervous now with Eriksson Ek and Kaprizov back along with Boldy. And again, it doesn't matter. The only way they'll see the Wild is if the Wild somehow come through the Pacific and the Jets see Minnesota in the conference finals. But first things first, before we get to St. Louis in round one more game tonight. Canada Life Center, Fan Appreciation Day for the Winnipeg Jets and their fans. Remo, we should do a couple of reminders. Folks, if you have not gone to our Instagram or our Facebook, or the Coolbet Instagram or Facebook, go there now and make sure you enter to win the playoffs in the PEG contest tomorrow at the end of the program. We will have drawn our qualifiers to enter in the marble race. It'll be limited. It won't be like 200 people. We'll have draws from both the Instagram post and the X post, as well as people that entered with their Coolbet handle. We'll be throwing them all in a special marble race tomorrow, and whoever wins will be going to game one on Coolbet and Winnipeg Sports Talk. So very, very easy to enter. Get on over and do that. And make sure to enter that contest over at Prairie Toyota on Instagram, Prairie Toyota Dealers, and at Prairie Toyota on Facebook. Make sure you get in for that Hellebuck and signed Hellebuck and signed Scheifele jerseys that they're giving away right now. Contest closes next week on that one, a week today, but the sooner the better, just so you don't forget. There's a link in the description to that contest. Go there, enter, and good luck to all of you. Well, Remo, what a season it's been. It'll be fun to celebrate the team and everything that's happened, but I know everyone's just going to be getting ready to really fire it up all in white this weekend. But a bit of a victory lap for the team and their fans tonight in the final game of 82.
Yeah, big fan appreciation. Hot dogs, soda. I got someone at my door. Hold on. Hot dogs, soda, all that. All that has. So very excited for tonight and very excited for the whiteout. It's a totally different thing when the whiteout happens. I may need to get this. And I wanted to give a shout out to Turd Ferguson wrote this in chat. WST community member Slick McGuire. He's very active in our Discord, making a lot of friends all the way here this week from England to take in a Jets game. Was a fan of the Weaker Thans, which turned him on to Winnipeg.
Right on, Slick.
So, yeah, he's here taking in a Jets game. Let's see what it's all about. So, shout out to Slick.
Slick, I hope you have a great time tonight. Jet fans, welcome Slick to the game tonight. And, again, maybe stick around for the playoffs on the weekend. We just don't know when the game is. We will hopefully know tomorrow. I can't guarantee anything, but we'll be all over it tomorrow on WST. We got a big show tomorrow. We will get ready for the playoffs. With Murata Tesh. Paul Edmonds is going to join us, and we'll get the Blues side of things with Jamie Rivers in STL. So make sure to join us tomorrow. And by the way, I know we normally take the stat holidays off. Friday is Good Friday. No days off, though, come playoff time for WST. So we will have a Friday show. We will have a marble race. Might be abbreviated, but I think it'll probably be relatively similar to what we normally do because there's going to be so much to talk about on the eve of the Stanley Cup playoffs. So plan to be with us on Friday as well as tomorrow.
Yeah, we got some bonus content Saturday, recording with Frank Corrado, playoff preview. So, keep those notifications on. Subscribe to the podcast feed. It'll show up in there. I mean, I think we've had the most downloads yesterday or 2 days ago that we've had in a day in 2025. One of those days. So the content's coming Sunday live. Sunday. Yeah. So yes, thanks for everyone who's hanging out here. This is super fun.
Yeah, and obviously we've got some more special content coming up come playoffs. On the streets, in the rink.
I'm doing post game with Connor.
Yeah, those post games. So yes, turn your notifications on so you know when the stuff is up, and you can plan. I think we should be able to have this thing ready to go, and probably makes the most sense to premiere it on the YouTube channel Saturday, right after Illegal Curve. So go hang out with the IC boys for a couple hours, and then pop on over to Winnipeg Sports Talk, and we'll have our playoff preview with Frankie Corrado up on the channel as well. That is going to do it for us. Thanks to everyone for joining us today. Special thanks to Schenn and Let's Do It Travel. Great to have you guys on board. Check out their Instagram and give them a follow, people, please, at Let's Do It Travel WPG. And other than that, maybe we'll see you at the game tonight. And if not, we will definitely see you tomorrow right here, 1 p.m., to get ready for the playoffs on Winnipeg Sports Talk. We wrap the season tonight. We'll see you tomorrow right here.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.